The scene opens with an exterior shot of Godzilla's mountain-sized fortress in the heart of the metal Phyrexian jungle known as the Vicious Tangle. This place is teeming with numerous strains of twisted and monstrous creatures, which turn in curiosity at the rhythmic booming sounds coming from the yawning entrance of the Green Praetor's fortress. None of them are prepared for the sudden pillar of blue-white atomic fire that streaks out, reducing any creature or metallic vegetation in its path to ash, and cutting a clear blackened path stretching from the mouth of the entrance in the direction of the Phyrexian metropolis on the horizon. The rhythmic booms continue to crescendo until Godzilla himself erupts from the shadows of the entrance. He takes a moment only to pause and let loose a ground-shaking bellow of defiance before charging forth along the still smoking path, his eyes fixed on the distant skyline. Welcome to Extraordinary League, an actual play RPG podcast brought to you by Smash Fiction. I'm Dan Mulkerin, your game master. Playing Stitch is Kit Mulkerin.
So, I figured out how to speak kaiju. That's hello. Okay. So now, where is the restroom?
Oh, I see. That one was longer. Longer scree. The grammar is coming to me.
Playing Dante is Liz Logan.
Sound the alarm, there's a kaiju here!
Playing Nico Minoru is Miles Schneiderman.
People always say teenagers think they're immortal, but I don't think that. Which is why, just as a reminder, shield spell at all times. Okay, Dan?
I gotcha.
Don't forget. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. I think about death all the time, and how I'm never gonna have to experience it because once more for the cheap seats, shield spell at all times. Thanks, dark magic. I couldn't have lived forever without you.
Playing Luna Lovegood is Megan Bob.
Now that I've got these unicorn powers, I've been trying out some new catchphrases. But after I said, mess with a unicorn and get the horn, Dante hasn't stopped laughing and he won't tell me why.
Playing Mordin Solus is Claire Mulkerin.
To claim that everything is just magic makes you a dingus. But that being said, I'm not gonna claim anything is impossible. In science, we think of that word as a slur. There's another term instead that I prefer. We trust there are laws that everything should obey. So when something happens that we can't explain, we don't let the strange occurrence break our brain. Improbable is the word that we choose to say. Improbable. For most beings in the multiverse to have human morphology. Improbable. For an alien's persona to be based on Greek mythology. We travel in dimensions, yet our home is medieval. And every sword that we find seems to be magically evil. Improbable. Is it more likely that I'm just dead and in purgatory? Or a character in some improvisational story? Or is our model of physics really just that wrong? 'Cause as we jump through various planes, I'm starting to think I might be insane. Improbable. Stating your inner thoughts in a song.
Previously, your journey into Phyrexia has proven largely successful. You've not only obtained the gem that drove you to come to this plane in the first place, you've also managed, against all odds, to cure the Green Praetor Godzilla of the Phyrexian plague, and he's agreed to help you in your crusade against the parasitic plane. Now all that's left is to find an extraction point and escape back to Grayskull, which may be easier said than done. Up until now, you've been using your companion Morgana's ability to travel to and from the dreamlike metaverse to avoid dealing directly with Phyrexians, but Godzilla's presence means that your journeys into the metaverse are no longer possible. That means going through a large section of Phyrexia in search of not just an extraction point, but also a source of power sufficient enough to allow you to escape with the recently liberated kaiju. You're all clinging to Godzilla's head and the back of his neck as he dashes through the Vicious Tangle. Along for the ride are Morgana, another League member who has joined you for this mission, and Michonne, the Soul Edge wielder who's been living and hiding in Phyrexia and joined you in the hopes of escaping. Also of note, Mordin is still suffering from nausea, fever, and headaches as a result of absorbing an unhealthy amount of radiation last time. So, Mordin, until you are able to receive treatment, you are at -2 column shifts to all physical checks that you make.
Oh, that is
Also,
fair.
none of you have recovered any health from last time unless Luna specifically said that she was healing you, which I believe she did to Mordin.
He's the only one I healed.
So, are any of you doing anything of note as you ride forward on Godzilla?
Probably trying to think of what is a power source that it would take to get him with us. And also how we can we actually stay under the radar? Is there a way we could get to the extraction point unnoticed?
We might have to tap into like Phyrexia's power grid. Like if there's like a sort of the equivalent of an electrical grid for most metropolitan areas, he imagines they have one there, and we might have to just like plug into that at like some power station or something, but...
This is a weird question, but do you think electricity could be evil? I mean, their electricity.
Yeah, I didn't used to think that swords could be evil, but, I guess anything's possible at this point. Mordin is also discreetly chipping off bits of Godzilla's scales and, analyzing them with his Omni tool.
So we have to find a power source for the DDC?
That's correct. If you're going to warp Godzilla off of the plane, the
Right.
DDC basically needs to be supercharged using an external power source. Now, the last time that we all got together, you had all talked about stopping by and picking up the other League cell operating in Phyrexia before heading to the extraction point. So, is that still kind of what your plan is?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we need to, because we said we wouldn't leave them here.
Okay, sounds good. You know that Beatrix's League cell has holed up in an old apartment building in one of these sections of Phyrexia that hasn't actually been converted over yet, and thus doesn't actually see a lot of traffic from Phyrexians. It's a precarious and short-term solution for them, as the Phyrexians are inevitably going to turn their attention to converting this area at some point. But, Beatrix and the other cell members have expressed that there's nowhere in Phyrexia that they could use as a safe house for more than a few weeks anyway, and this was as good a place as any. Is that the location that you are directing Godzilla to rampage in?
Yeah, as we're going, though,
Yes.
I think Mordin's going to say, seeking tactical advice. Better to go all the way on Godzilla for maximum firepower, or should we perhaps stop when we're a little bit outside a civilized area and send a smaller party in to retrieve our group? We also have to worry that if we send Godzilla in, not just will he attract attention, but our party members might not know that he's friendly and flee.
I think that's an issue, but I also think no matter what we do, he's going to be a target. He's pretty big.
I'm pretty sure at this point I've used up just about every option for camouflage or invisibility I could reasonably pull off.
Up to this point, Stitch has been standing at the very top of Godzilla's head. His hands sort of on his hips, elbows out, and he's been really, really soaking in the fact that he is getting to ride Godzilla. And he looks back toward the group at Mordin's question and says, "We go all out."
Oh, well.
All right, sure. Just be prepared to explain to the others what's going on.
Ohana means crushing your enemies beneath your feet.
Just for the record, Dante has been climbing to the top of Godzilla, sliding all the way down to the tip of Godzilla's tail, and then running back up and then doing it again.
Wow, your
Terrific.
asshole must be destroyed. He is not a smooth ride, my dude.
No, I'm surfing on my sword. It's okay. I'm using it for something.
Wow.
All right, so it sounds like in the absence of any other options, you guys are probably just going to take Godzilla on more or less a beeline toward
I think we're just
Beatrix's
rolling
cell.
in, man. Ohana means never leaving an opportunity to ride a dinosaur behind.
Absolutely.
I could send my Patronus to go let them know. I mean, I would be without a defensive shield, but, as long as, okay, Nico, can I stand very close to you?
Absolutely.
All right. Am I in the bubble? Is the bubble around me now?
I don't know. Dan, does it work that way?
It does not.
I didn't think
Oh.
so. But don't worry. I'll protect you.
Okay. I just want to make it very clear that I do still remember the shoes incident. But, okay. All right. I will send my Patronus. Do I have to roll to send my Patronus?
I mean, not for this. You're not under any immediate pressure.
All right. Bun, go let him know.
So a little silvery bunny appears in front of you and begins hopping off through the air ahead of Godzilla. Godzilla emerges from the vicious tangle and begins stomping his way through the architecture of the Phyrexian city, until eventually you do reach the area that Beatrix and her cell have holed up in. This section obviously stands out from the rest, having not been converted into the twisted, organic-looking black metal that's otherwise more or less ubiquitous here. These buildings have the more familiarly eclectic look of stone, metal, and glass that shows that they would have come from a city whose design wasn't dictated entirely by an alien intelligence. If they weren't so obviously abandoned and not kept up, you would almost feel at home here. As you all approach the building, a dark shape emerges from the rooftop and flies in your direction. And as it draws near, you see that it is Toothless, carrying Beatrix Kiddo, Samus Aran, and Luca Ashtier on his back. And everyone is wearing an expression of utter incredulity. Beatrix and Samus try momentarily to put together a coherent sentence before Luca just blurts out, why are you riding on Godzilla?
He's our friend now. Well, friend is probably not the word he would use, but he's with us now.
Why not?
Samus looks him up and down and says, you couldn't have chosen a more portable Praetor to cure?
Look, if you're gonna cure a Praetor, why would you go halfway?
Stitch just is staring at them like with that what the fuck is wrong with you face.
Luca excitedly leaps from Toothless's back and lands on Godzilla, swaying unsteadily for a second before she eagerly kneels down next to Mordin and says, so your cure worked?
Seems like.
That's incredible.
Unfortunately, most of our vials were lost. That was the only one that we had. I can make more once we get back to Grayskull, but for now it's all we have, so we need to be careful.
Also, Mordin's dying.
I'm going to say that at this point, Godzilla has, come up close to a building, and so everyone sort of piles off of Godzilla and Toothless, and so all the League members are standing on this rooftop having this conversation.
Mordin, is there anything you need to tell us?
Now's not the time to have this conversation. There's a chance that because I've absorbed a good deal of radiation, I'm going to have some long-term effects that we have to deal with, but it's not anything that's going to affect us during this mission. The radiation sickness I'm undergoing right now will subside with time and proper treatment. So for now, we just have to push on. There's no point in discussing it.
I say to the other League cell, you guys should probably come with us. We're heading back, and it's not going to be safe anymore.
Beatrix says, no, I don't imagine it would be. Both Samus and Luca share a glance with each other and then with Mordin, and Samus says, so what are you thinking? I mean, we could maybe daisy chain our two DDCs together and disable the safeguards. I mean, that would exponentially increase the combined field size and let us bring everyone through, including Godzilla. Am I missing anything?
In theory, the field generators would be able to create space-time distortion large enough to create a bridge that could get Godzilla through, but the onboard batteries wouldn't be able to handle the strain of generating something that large for long enough to transfer that much matter. We just need more power. It's still not enough.
Luca has a thoughtful look on her face, and you can tell she's doing some math in her head. And she says, well, maybe if we hooked the chained DDCs directly into a Phyrexian reactor, but we'd also have to be at an extraction point at the same time, because otherwise the DDCs would just overload.
Right, that's a good point.
So how can we just hook up the DDCs to a reactor while at the same time having them at an extraction point?
Extension cable?
Portal gun?
Portal gun! Mordin points at Nico and gets a big smile on his face.
Oh, Nico's better at science now than you too. Oh my god.
Oh!
Beatrix looks at Mordin and says, would that work?
Make it easier, at least, right?
We need a much smaller extension cord, because from what I remember, the extraction point is up in the air, but it was fairly nearby a skyscraper, so we could put a portal on the side of that skyscraper, and then put the other side of the portal down by the power station and just, run a short cable through, and that would be fine. I think we could make that happen.
Samus says, we have Godzilla now. He should be tall enough to reach that extraction point, right?
That's true.
That's a good point.
Wait, we can't put a portal on him, right?
Samus reaches down to the roof that you guys are standing on, digs her fingers in several feet apart, and pulls up this large chunk of stone and says, all right, this is what I'm thinking. Mordin, put a portal on here. Then some of us can go to that power station while the rest of us go to the extraction point. As soon as you get that reactor set up, you just put a portal right next to it, and then it should pop open right under the extraction point, right?
That should be fine. Just, I guess, be sure to keep the stone stable. If it gets jostled or broken or damaged or anything, the portal probably won't hold and it'll fall apart. So just keep the stone really safe.
Morgana at this point looks up and says, so how are we going to do this? I mean, some of us are going to have to go to the extraction point, and then I guess a smaller group would have to go to the reactor in order to clear a path and set up a portal.
Godzilla needs to go to the extraction point, and I need to go to the reactor, I think.
Michonne says, so I guess if maybe the 5 of you want to go to the reactor, the rest of us can fight our way with Godzilla to that extraction point, and I imagine by that point we'll probably be attracting a lot of attention, so we can try to hold them off for as long as we need to until you can get everything set up on your end.
Yeah, I think our team should go to the reactor, and I think your team, as well as Michonne and Morgana, should go with Godzilla.
I also think that we should each keep our own separate DDCs for now, in case there's an emergency and we have to teleport back. I don't want one team to be stranded without a DDC.
Right.
Yeah.
Once we get to the power station, we'll make a portal, and then we can daisy chain the 2 DDCs together.
Beatrix nods and says, all right, that all sounds like a plan. Well, I guess we'll meet you all at the extraction point.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Stitch pats Godzilla's head and says, murder many Phyrexians, good big cousin. Biggest cousin.
Godzilla nods at you, and then nods at Lace.
Mordin makes an orange portal on the stone that Samus was holding.
Cool. And she just kind of slings it over her back and jumps onto Godzilla. And Toothless walks up and gives Luna a loving head nuzzle before jumping onto Godzilla as well.
Before we leave, I am going to point my staff at the stone that the portal is on and say, invulnerable. That's a yellow.
There is a magical glow that seems to pass over the stone like light shining on metal. You are quite certain that that stone has been fully enchanted. Now that your small strike team is assembled, the team riding on Godzilla begins heading off. You can already see dark shapes taking to the sky and heading in Godzilla's direction from many areas all around. Obviously, the Phyrexians have heard about his little change of heart and are intending on doing something about it.
I suppose I could have cast invulnerable on the people. But the rock seemed more important.
Well, you live and learn. You all race through this non-converted area of Phyrexia back in the direction of the black, oily metal of the rest of the plane. The whole time that you're running, the skies above are filling with Phyrexians and their vehicles as they soar in the direction of the former Green Praetor. Every now and then, you can hear the distant sounds of Godzilla's roar, or you can see a flash of blue-white light, and you know that, for the time being at least, he and the other League members are still fighting. Thankfully, you actually don't have to travel too far into the converted areas of Phyrexia before you find the power plant. This is a large but relatively squat building, maybe like 3 stories tall in total, but taking up several city blocks worth of space. It's made out of the usual black metal covered by an opalescent oily sheen. There's a few windows set into it, and a blue light shines brightly from the windows near the back end of the building. You can see glowing blue pipes large enough to drive a car through, run from 3 of the 4 sides of the building before they dive underground. So, you know that you need to get into this power plant and tap into the main reactor there. What do you do?
Is there like a fence around it?
There is not.
Are there big locks on the doors or something?
No, they have no need to lock their doors or put fences around their buildings because the only other beings on this plane are usually Phyrexians.
Is there anybody around?
There are Phyrexians, but they're basically like any Phyrexians that you see are heading in the direction of Godzilla. So they're not actively looking at you. They are looking at the gigantic dinosaur on the horizon.
Well, then we should look both ways before crossing the street and go into the power plant.
Are there like lots of doors and windows, or?
There's one major set of doors, and there are several windows that are sort of high up on the building.
All right, can I like discreetly fly around there and see if I can see into them?
Yeah, for sure. You fly around. I'm gonna need you to make an agility check with a bonus for stealth.
Mordin watches Nico flying and is trying to figure out how she's doing it.
How's that going for you?
Not well.
Let's see, agility with a bonus for stealth. I might spend karma on this roll. All right, I'll take that to a green.
So you are unnoticed, and peering in through the windows, you can see that the interior is kind of just a maze of cold metal industrial hallways, storage rooms, monitoring stations. The reactor itself is in the rearmost part of the building, the area where the blue glow is coming out of the windows. And you can see that the reactor room basically contains a set of giant pillars that are glowing with a blinding blue-white light. And there's several computer monitors set up around the base. You can see a number of Phyrexians that are walking around inside the facility, but they have a slightly different kind of look and proportions to them from the other Phyrexians that you've run into, and you're fairly certain that they aren't combatants, strictly speaking. They were probably engineered and designed to facilitate this reactor running properly.
Okay. I return and relay this information.
Do you think if we made some sort of distraction on the lower level or in a different part of the building that we could get them away and we could get in and hook up the DDC?
Were they just standing still like robots, or were they yawning and leaning like people?
No, I mean, they were just kind of going about their business. They were doing so very efficiently. It sort of reminded you of watching ants go about their work.
Well, that suggests that if we put a fly in some kind of ointment in their routine or whatever, they might go check it out.
I can definitely do this.
Do it, Distraction Master. I think it makes the most sense to go around to the wall where the reactor is and try to get through it.
I can definitely do that. Do other people want to make a distraction at the front of the building to kind of lure everybody up there, or no?
I kind of feel like Team Distraction, Dante and Stitch should just kind of be annoying at the front.
The Distraction faction?
Yeah.
Walk in the front and start punching people. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
So you guys storm the gates while we go into the back door?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Make our own back door?
Storming gates and other wall-like things is kind of what we're best at.
So Mordin, Nico, and Luna sneak off to the sort of side and back area of the power plant, and Stitch and Dante stand in front of the power plant, pondering what distraction they're going to do.
You should throw me in there. Fastball special.
My arm kind of hurts. How about you're strong? You could throw me.
But that's not as fun.
Can we build this utterly complicated contraption that's kind of a slingshot, and we both get into it together and we slingshot our way into the front door? I'm digging through some refuse and stuff, and I find some spandex. Why it's there, I don't know. And some other things, and I'm arranging some other detritus. Stitch, come here. Does that seem comfortable?
What am I looking at?
I'm sitting at like a love sack. Just sit down, relax. Just come here, sit, relax.
His ears pull back and his eyes narrow, and then he walks toward Dante and he says, "Sit right here."
Yeah, right next to your old buddy Dante.
All right, he flops in.
Okay,
Gets cozy.
Now hold on. This is about to get really fast.
So Dante has constructed a makeshift slingshot out of discarded spandex. I'm going to need you to make a reason check with a -2 column shift for using random discarded Phyrexian materials.
Phyrexian spandex isn't strong?
Phyrexian spandex, I'm going to say, probably doesn't exist, so I'm not sure what you found. We will see how it behaves.
Yep, that's a white.
You sort of stretch yourself back and attempt to launch yourself. What ends up happening is the 2 anchor points that you had placed end up snapping up, and you and Stitch end up completely wrapped up and entangled in this long piece of elastic and are stumbling around. Lace is looking at you very concerned and very confused as the doors to the power plant burst open and you see a battle group of Phyrexians emerges.
Oh, shit.
I mean, distraction accomplished. Good job, guys.
I'm just curious, on the other side of the building, what do we hear?
I imagine you hear Dante screaming and then a crash and then the sounds of a lot of Phyrexians running.
Oh, they're doing good. Okay.
So infiltration group, what do you guys do?
Are there windows? Is there a back door?
There's no back door. There are windows that are kind of high up on the building.
Okay, well, I have my broom.
Yeah, and I can fly Mordin up there.
All right, well,
Cool.
I mean, Mordin can ride on the broom. Mordin, do you want to ride a broom, or do you want to
Mordin's gonna ride on the
piggyback?
broom. Mordin doesn't trust Nico in the air that much anymore.
I have to ask you, I say, as we're riding up, does it bother you less that the broom flies than that Nico flies?
I was gonna say, the flying broomstick you're fine with.
There could be some unseen mechanics and Mass Effect field generators in there.
Sure.
Okay. Do you want to study the broom whenever we get back? You can.
I'm afraid that if I do, it's just gonna be a broom. So just let me have this for now.
Okay. Nico, do you want to just crack open the window, or do we want to try and open it softly?
After Bob says that, can we just cut to the inside of the reactor and the window smashing open?
Yes, that is entirely fine. So you guys are now inside the reactor room. The reactor is this large, humming, glowing machine nearby. The Phyrexians that are down monitoring it look up at you, startled, and begin running for the exit, when suddenly the overseer of this reactor takes a few steps out of the shadows. This is a creature with a tarnished metal body in the shape of a large predatory cat, with a dramatic mane of twisting metal spines framing its face, and a pair of metal wings that look almost delicate protrude out from its shoulders. This creature is the Chancellor of the Spires.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm going to need both groups to roll initiative.
It's a good card.
I hate its name already.
11.
5.
11.
6.
4.
I'm going to divide up combat into two halves. So we're going to be alternating between the distraction group and the infiltration group. Stitch and Dante, your group is up first. So a Phyrexian battle group has burst out of the doors. There are two creatures that resemble a lizard or a dragon, but they only have a pair of hind legs. Their main body is in the shape of an SUV with a tail at least 3 times as long. Its whole body is made out of metal and is skeletal in shape, including a tail made entirely out of vertebrae. The only pieces of flesh are grafted onto its back, where it stretches upward into these rotting wings. These are 2 dark slick drakes. The other creatures that are attacking are 4 bird-shaped creatures that barely look like living beings. Their main body is all metal, and their faces end in a cluster of long, sharp needles. They have 4 leathery wings extending from their body in an X shape, and a single long lizard tail extends behind them. These are Impaler Shrikes. Stitch, you are up first.
Stitch looks at these things and looks at Dante and says, "Wait, what was the plan?"
Now do you want to do a fastball special?
Yeah. Stitch holds out his arms for Dante to like jump into them.
Stitch, who are you throwing Dante at?
Let's do the nasty slick boys, the drakes.
But before Stitch does that, I'm grabbing a big rope of the spandex.
All right, Stitch, make your agility check to throw Dante.
I will just make sure to use karma then. It's a green.
Dante, you are hurtling straight at this dark slick drake. Did you want to do something other than hit it?
I want to hit it, but then I want to get on top of it.
I mean, you hit this thing hard enough to rip it in half between your strength and Stitch's strength.
Okay, well, I'll take a ride on the next one.
All right, great. So you take this thing down. Did Lace want to do anything, Kit?
She will pull out Marlene, the guitar, and play an homage to the last episode, Walk the Dinosaur. She's going to aim at the Shrikes. It's a yellow.
Yeah, she hits all of them. They don't go down, but they are very badly damaged. Dante, the remaining dark slick drake, turns to you, lets out this screech that sounds like metal scraping on metal, and flies at you, stretching out its hind legs and brandishing its claws. Oof. Dante, you're gonna have to make an endurance check for me, please.
That's a yellow.
Okay, you are not stunned. You do, however, take 20 damage. Lace has a bunch of Impaler Shrikes suddenly flying at her. So Lace gets hit 3 times by these things. They all impale her with their long, needle-like beaks, and she takes a total of 60 damage.
Ooh.
Jeez.
We now switch over to the infiltrator group in the reactor room. Nico, this giant Phyrexian creature, has emerged from the shadows and is looking none too pleased at your presence. What would you like to do?
I would like to point to the staff of 1 at this creature and say, "Time stop!" I got a 6, so that's a white.
Nico freezes in place.
Crap.
It is the Chancellor's turn. The Chancellor looks at Nico with her staff pointed forward, and you hear like some reconfiguration going on inside the Chancellor's throat, and then it turns, looks at Mordin, and says in Nico's voice, "Time stop."
Oh, shit!
Oh,
Mordin is now frozen in time.
That's just great. That's just great.
So, Mordin, you lose your turn. It is Luna's turn. What would you like to do, Luna?
I'm all alone, aren't I?
Yep, both your friends
You
are
are.
frozen in time.
Oh, no.
That's my bad, guys.
I know it's your bad. That doesn't help. I'm gonna cast Langlock. So, a green.
Your spell goes off, and the Chancellor is suddenly unable to speak. We will see how that goes next round, because we are back to the front with the distraction team.
The Distraction faction.
Distraction faction, I'm sorry. Stitch, you are up. There is the 1 Dark Slick Drake and the 4 very damaged Impaler Shrikes. What would you like to do?
All right, let's start with the Lace so I don't forget about her. She went rolling from the hit, pushes herself up, and then menacingly walks forward, and she steps into the moonlight, revealing that she is a skeleton dino. Creepy zombie dino, thanks to the Coin of Cortez. She runs forward and begins to play a sweet-ass guitar solo. She just meatlies so hard at the one in front of her. Oh, no good.
Nope, her attack does not quite land, or at the very least, the Shrikes seem to be wise to it and dodge out of the way.
Stitch is gonna pick up the gross tail remains of the slick boy that got taken down earlier, and use it as a whip and try to catch up one of those Shrikes. No go.
So Dante, what would you like to do?
I want to somehow mount up on the other Drake.
Okay, agility check, please.
That'd be another yellow.
Yeah, you jump on top of this creature's back. You still have the rest of your turn if you want to try something else.
Hell yeah, with my spandex rope, I want to put it in the Drake's mouth like a bridle and direct him to careen into the 4 Shrikes.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Give me another agility check, this one at -4 column shifts.
Karma. I'm gonna take that up to a red.
Dante, you drive the Drake forward, and the Shrikes all turn around, which means that they impale the Drake, but the Drake also ends up crushing them. So you have taken out all of the enemies in front of you. All right, we are back to the infiltration team. Nico, you are still frozen in time. You may make a psyche check to attempt to rejoin the time stream.
That is a green.
Okay, that is not good enough.
Oh, well, fuck you then.
It is the Chancellor's turn. The Chancellor turns toward Luna and begins to apparently make shapes with its mouth, looks confused that no noises are coming out, and instead just decides to leap at you and claw at you. Luna, you get hit for 40 damage, which I believe takes out your Patronus shield. Mordin, you are also frozen in time. You may make a psyche check to break out.
Yeah, I'll spend some karma. Jeez, that's gonna take a lot to get it to a yellow. Spend 60 karma.
Oof.
Oh.
Mordin, you have rejoined the time stream and can act.
Yeah, I think this guy's gonna get incinerated.
Okay, well, that remains to be seen.
That's a white.
Shit.
You tried, says Luna, and she's getting clawed.
Luna, it is your turn.
He's right on top of me, isn't he?
He is.
I'm gonna cast Avis. It sends a flock of birds to peck his face. Well, I got a red.
Oh man, this guy fails his endurance check in a big bad way.
They're Shrikes! I sent Shrikes!
Yeah, Luna, you summon a bunch of Impaler Shrikes that dismantle the Chancellor of the Spires.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
I mean, like, yeah, it is taken away in pieces.
So now, are there just like some bones left?
No, it was an entirely, like, mechanical creature.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, it just, like, broke him into metal pieces.
So there's just like a lone gear on the floor now.
Nico, you become unstuck in time, and you see that the Chancellor is gone, so apparently your spell worked really well.
Nice.
Yeah, you did good, Nico.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel very confident about this going forward.
Hey, how big is this thing's head? Or the largest piece of it I can find?
You know, you have a picture of it. If you want to, like, pick a random part of its body, that's fine.
I want its, like, head and brain if possible, because that was really weird what it did, and I want to understand how it was able to copy magic like that, because that's really cool.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, you grab its head. At this point, I will say that the distraction faction can catch up with the infiltration team and join them in the reactor room. The way to the reactor monitors have been cleared. So what you're going to have to do, first of all, is identify a safe spot to hook up a cable to redirect power into your DDCs, and then actually perform the reconnection. I take it Mordin is the one who's going to be doing this?
Yeah, Mordin's going to try to figure out how to make that happen, but he's going to command somebody else to try to find him a length of cable, but to be sure that it's not cable that's plugged into anything.
Okay. Who are you commanding to do that?
He looks around and he says, Luna.
Okay, so I'm gonna go look for for cables that look like things I have seen in Mordin's office.
Okay,
in his
very
lab.
good. So Mordin, I'm going to need you to make 2 reason checks. Both get a bonus for technology. The first one is to try to identify a port that you can plug into, and then the second is to basically establish a connection with it.
Okay, I'm going to spend karma on the first one. Yeah, I can just throw on a couple more points of karma and make that a red really easily, so I'm going to do that.
So yeah, you have very confidently identified a safe spot to hook up the cable, which Luna has very usefully brought back to you. So you can go ahead and do that.
But before I plug it in, I think since I imagine it's not going to plug into whatever port I have on my thing, I'm just going to probably like have to tear off the end and like strip the cable into wires and then just like hook the wires directly into like the battery pack or something as best as I can.
Yeah, that is correct. You're actually not going to be able to connect it directly until you have both DDCs there. Because like, essentially if you overload it too much without activating it, it'll just, best case scenario, burn out.
Okay, sounds good.
You just need to make one more reason check with a bonus for technology in order to actually make the hookup. You've just identified how to hook it up.
I will do that and I'll spend some karma as well. Okay. All right, I got a green and I am down to 20 karma.
You have managed to hook the cable in and, as you said, take out the normal connector end and have instead just exposed the wires, which are going to have to connect to both DDCs once you get to the other side of the portal. Aside from that, everything looks like it's ready.
I point the portal gun at the wall and I say, everyone ready?
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, you open a portal on the nearby wall. Through the portal, you can see that the other group has arrived at the extraction point. Although it's not obvious immediately that that is what has happened, because your friends have obviously been fighting off increasing numbers of Phyrexians this whole time. And Godzilla has not been playing nice with the surrounding neighborhood. You're seeing that at least half the buildings in the surrounding blocks have been knocked over or set on fire or otherwise severely compromised. Night has fallen by this point, but the fires from burning buildings paint your friends and the swarms and swarms of Phyrexians all around them in flickering orange light.
Stitch's eyes go wide and he's like, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so you all leap through the portal. You have arrived on Godzilla's back, having leapt through the slab of stone that Samus was carrying around. The other League members have positioned themselves on Godzilla's head and shoulders. Toothless is occasionally, making passes out from the kaiju and firing bolts of plasma into the swarms of Phyrexians before coming back. It is pure chaos everywhere. I'm going to need everyone to roll initiative.
9.
5 again.
8.
10.
11.
Kit, please roll for Morgana. Miles, please roll for Michonne.
Michonne also goes on 11.
He gets a 10.
You also have Beatrix, Luca, Samus, and Toothless. Who would like to take each?
I want Toothless.
I'll probably take Luca.
Yeah, I'll take Beatrix.
And is Samus left over then?
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll take her if nobody else wants her.
Go for it.
Okay, I have sent you guys all their character sheets. Just so you know, all of those characters, plus Morgana and Michonne, are all at 50% of their maximum health right now. And then when you guys are ready, please roll in those characters as well.
So Toothless got a 7.
Beatrix got a 10.
Samus got a 5 and Luca got an 8.
This is what you guys are up against at the moment.
Oh boy.
There is currently, in the immediate area, 1 exterminator, so the repurposed Terminators.
Oh boy.
There is currently 1 Chancellor of the Dross. This is a burly figure encased in metal, including a skull-shaped mask, although the occasional gap in its metal exterior gives glimpses of rotting, diseased flesh beneath. There's a pair of long, hooked claws extending from its wrists to a foot or two past the ends of its fingers, and a dark purple cape is draped around its shoulders and swirls around its ankles. There are 7 flesh-eater imps. These are nasty creatures about the size of a human baby. They are covered in rubbery flesh with a hairless head, sporting a pair of narrow red eyes and a gigantic grinning mouth like that of a shark, and they fly through the air on bat-like wings. There are 3 vault scourges. These are humanoid creatures covered in black chitin with very strong insectoid features, including a pair of thrumming wings coming from its back. Finally, there are 4 dementia bats. These basically look like flayed bats, although spiked metal plates cover much of their body, including the entirety of their face.
So can you go over the whole lineup one more time,
Yes.
Dan?
There is 1 exterminator, 1 Chancellor of the Dross, 7 flesh-eater imps, 3 vault scourges, and 4 dementia bats. First on our list is Luna. What would you like to do?
Oh, run and hide. Oh, I guess now is not the time to use a cheering charm, is it? Now is the time to use Expulso.
What does Expulso do?
Target object of up to car size explodes.
The exterminators you could target with that.
I got a yellow.
Yep, the exterminator explodes. It is gone. That brings us to Michonne.
Michonne is going to do a soul wave.
Okay, so she can target any one of the enemy groups. So she could target the Vault Scourges, the Chancellor of the Dross, the Flesh Eater Imps, or the Dementia Bats.
Let's go with the Flesh Eater Imps.
Sounds good. All of them get hit for 30 damage each. Mordin, it is your turn.
Who has the DDC right now? Is it Luca?
So you have your group's DDC, Luca
Yeah.
has their group's DDC.
Can I have her toss that to me for my turn? Can I take it from her, or does that have to be her turn, or how does that work?
No, you can get it as part of your turn.
I want to get it, and then I want to start trying to hook it together with the other one. I'm not
Okay.
going to plug them in yet, but I'm just going to try to like make them into a thing.
Cool, so you're gonna have to do a series of reason checks to make this work. So I'm gonna need you to do reason plus technology.
Yeah, fortunately, I have a monstrous when dealing with technology, so I did barely get a green, even though I rolled quite badly.
All right, so you have prepped your DDC to be hooked up. That brings us to Morgana.
So Morgana is kind of with one arm hanging badassedly off of one of Godzilla's spikes. He pulls out his little sword with his other hand and yells, "Witness my resolve!" And Zoro appears behind him and he's gonna cast his wind spell, Garu. You said there was like a few of those bats, like 4 of them?
There's 4 Dementia Bats, yes.
Yeah, he'll go for that little group. Oh yeah, he determined to prove himself now. He got a yellow.
A whirlwind appears in the midst of the bats and flings them in all different directions. The Dementia Bats are gone.
Oh shit! Fuck yeah, Morgana.
You did great.
He looks like he's about to like leap up and down in celebration and then very visibly just acts very cool and says, "Nothing to it."
Well, it's very impressive.
It is Beatrix's turn, so Liz, that is you.
Hey, Liz and Dan, I have an idea. It occurs to me that it would make sense for Luca and Beatrix to do a dual attack because they've been a team for a while.
That's true.
It's a thing in Chrono Trigger where you like combine 2 moves together, and I'm looking at the ones in Chrono Trigger, and there's one I think they might be able to do. Liz, there's a thing called Fire Whirl where Luca would use a fire attack to light Beatrix's sword on fire, and then you'd spin around like a flaming tornado and hit a bunch of enemies. How do you feel about that?
Totally supportive.
So what it's going to mean is that Beatrix will have to wait until Luca's turn rolls around, and then the 2 of them can double tech together.
That is fun.
Sounds good.
That means it is Stitch's turn.
Can we have Lace go first?
Yes.
She's gonna wait for that little cluster of, oh gosh, what were the imps? Yeah, she's gonna wait for that cluster of imps to fly by, and then play immediately on Marlene. Oh, she got a green.
Lace finishes off the Flesh Eater Imps.
I will begin to harass the Chancellor of the Dross then. Stitch is gonna try and like wait for him to kind of fly by and then jump on him. Yellow.
You are now riding on the back of the Chancellor of the Dross.
All right, I'm gonna try and steer him with his cape a little.
Make a strength check, please.
Yeah. Oh no. He's doing some kind of barrel roll maneuver. Stitch can barely hang on.
Yeah, you're like hanging off of the edge of his cape right now.
Wah!
And now the 3 Vault Scourges turn and make a beeline for Toothless. Toothless gets hit 3 times for 30 damage total, as the Scourges sort of cling onto him and like bury their mandibles into his side.
Toothless is shaking, trying to get them off, and doing that like little dog shake whenever they shake all the way down to their butt.
No.
At this point, you all see what looks like a blue fireball flying through the sky in your direction.
That's good. That's great.
It stops a short distance away from where all of you are fighting, and you see that Azula emerges from it. And as she does so, she is surrounded by a blaze of red light and emerges covered in red organic-looking armor with a flat helmet that swoops out dramatically. Her hair has become blue fire shot through with white streaks of lightning that trails into multiple prehensile braids that extend 20 feet and writhe around like snakes. Just so you guys know, when you are fighting a Praetor, the rules for death work a little differently. If a Praetor reduces you to 0 health, you have to make an endurance check. On a green or better result, you are knocked out. On a white, you die.
Oh my.
Azula, now transformed into Azula the Unforgiving, reaches up one hand into the sky and then points a finger forward. A lightning bolt seems to streak out of nowhere, hit her upturned fingers, and then leap from her outstretched hand straight at Beatrix.
Oh, shit.
Beatrix gets hit by the lightning bolt and takes 150 damage.
Beatrix.
Sweet Jesus,
me.
activate the
Dead
DDC.
as fuck.
Dan,
Beatrix
why
is
don't you
dead
want us
as
to do
fuck.
double text? Dan, I hate you.
Beatrix needs to make an endurance check or die.
Spend her karma.
Spend your karma.
Holy shit, she got a 92.
Look, if anyone was gonna survive some absurd shit, it would be Beatrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
She gets knocked off her feet, a smoking hole in her chest. She is knocked out, but not dead yet.
It'll be fine. Like, look, 2 rounds later, she's gonna be like moving her toes.
Nico, it is your turn.
I'm gonna point my staff at Azula and say seizure. That is a green, Dan.
Okay. So Azula made her psyche check, so I'm going to say that she is more distracted than completely seized up. So she's going to have a penalty to her attack rolls for the next few rounds. That brings us to Luca.
So Luca was preparing to do a double tech with Beatrix, but now she doesn't know what to do. She says, "Oh, if only there was someone else here who had a sword."
Somehow above the battle sound, there is the sound of a single cricket.
I guess there is Michonne, right?
What if I grab Beatrix's sword?
What the fuck?
I don't know, why not? It's Hattori Hanzo's sword.
Why would you
You
grab
have
a
one.
normal ass sword when you have the He-Man sword?
Oh, that's right, I do. I even forgot what kind of sword I have.
I want to do a double tech.
Okay.
All right, cool. Luca is holding. That brings us to the Chancellor of the Dross, who has Stitch hanging off of him. Stitch, the Chancellor turns around and extends one long clawed hand towards you. Stitch, there is this cloud of dark purple energy that is ripped out of your mouth and pulled into the Chancellor. You take 30 damage, which ignores your body armor. And that brings us to Toothless's turn.
So Toothless is being attacked by the Vault Scourges, right?
Yes.
Godzilla's breathing some fire right now, right?
Godzilla is mainly focused on the ground enemies that are attacking.
I'm wondering if Toothless can fly well enough to get just close enough to that fire to just roast those little scourges.
Oh, I see. Try to get them in the path of Godzilla's atomic breath.
You know, just enough of it, because, I mean, he's got fire resistance. It's just like getting up against a wall and just scratching stuff off you.
All right, yeah. Give me an agility check for Toothless.
That was a white.
Toothless flies directly into Godzilla's fire breath.
That's not a
God.
good idea.
Toothless takes 150 damage. The Vault Scourges are vaporized, but Toothless plummets to the ground. All right, it is now Dante's turn.
Time has come.
Luca!
Luca points her gun at Dante's sword and says, "Fire whirl."
Fireblade!
That too. That's fine. Just do it.
So Luca actually casts a spell. This long tongue of fire leaps out and wraps around Dante's sword. So I'm gonna have Luca make a psyche check, and then Dante, which target are you going to attack? The only ones that are really available to you right now are the Chancellor of the Dross or Azula.
I don't want to attack her because I don't want to draw attention, so I'm going to attack Chancellor.
So yeah, psyche check for Luca, fighting check for Dante.
Green.
Yellow.
Dante, you plunge your fiery sword into the Chancellor of the Dross and deal 100 damage to it.
Holy shit.
Nice.
It is still up, and that brings us to Samus.
So Samus is gonna shoot a missile at Azula. That is yellow.
Azula brings up a hand and intercepts it with a wall of fire.
What?
That is essentially her force field. So you have damaged her force field. And that brings us to the start of the turn. So there are now 4 more exterminators that have joined the fight.
Oh, Christ.
There is 1 more Chancellor of the Dross that has joined.
Oh, nice.
There are 2 more Flesh Eater Imps. There are 8 more Vault Scourges. And there are 7 more Dementia Bats.
Mordin, are you done yet?
It is now Luna's turn.
I was trying to decide if there was a thing I could do to get to, because if Toothless is down there, he won't be able to beat the extraction point unless, somebody gets him. And I can do Asio to get him back, but I don't know if I can do a good enough Asio to get him.
Give it a shot.
Okay, I'm gonna cast Asio and try to get him back. Fuck, a white.
Yep, you're a little distracted, and you're not able to grab Toothless. It is Michonne's turn.
Michonne is going to take the Soul Edge and leap straight for Azula with it. I will spend karma. Oh, didn't need to. Red.
She brings the Soul Edge down, and Azula brings up a wall of fire in response. The Soul Edge does manage to slash through the wall of fire and nick Azula ever so slightly.
Okay.
Azula looks shocked. That brings us to Mordin. So basically, you have prepped your DDC.
Okay.
You still need to prep Luca's DDC. Then you need to link them together and then you need to link them to the cable that links the reactor.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Great.
god.
This is great. This is just lovely. All
Do
right.
it.
I
Just
will
go.
point out, someone else can help you with this if you want.
I mean, Luca could help me, I imagine.
She could.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
I'm gonna mess with their DC. I don't have karma enough karma, so I'm just gonna roll. Oh, dang. Yeah, that's a red.
Woo!
All right.
Cool. Luca's DDC is prepped. That brings us to Morgana.
He's gonna aim at some of these exterminators, once again, summoning Zoro and using Garu. He's gonna use Karma. It's just a green.
All right. Hits one of them with a blast of wind, which brings us to Stitch. Still hanging on for dear life from this Chancellor of the Dross.
Yeah, he's hanging on to like the edge of the guy's cape, and he's gonna climb up the cape and get toward the Chancellor's head. And he's like, "Give me back my purple soul stuff, you jerk!" And he's gonna basically try to punch into that dude's mouth, rip his purple soul stuff right out of that guy's face. That's a yellow, right in the face.
His mask sort of just folds over your fist as you punch directly into his head, and the Chancellor drops out of the sky limply. I'll let you decide what Stitch does about that.
He's gonna sort of mid-flight rip off the cape and then make a little parachute for himself, and then realize he is extremely heavy, as he always has been, and he just falls anyway.
So Stitch has just fallen. What about Lace?
Lace will attack a cluster. She's targeting the 8 Sturges. Mealy, she hits for a yellow.
And the 8 Vault Scourges are destroyed.
Such a good girl.
All right, it is Azula's turn. She is very unhappy with Michonne attacking her. She just, looks over at Michonne. This, fire begins to blaze out of her eyes, and she says,
You dare.
holds out both of her hands, puts them together, and lets loose a giant jet of fire at Michonne. Michonne gets it for 100 damage.
All right, well, that is all she wrote for Michonne. So
Jeez.
let's go ahead and make this endurance check and spend karma. That's a red.
Okay, Michonne survives but is knocked out. That brings us to Nico.
Nico is going to raise her staff at Azula and say, how about tsunami? Since you're a fire person, I want to hit her with a blast of water that basically has the kinetic force of a tsunami hitting the beach. That's a yellow.
Yeah, you managed to hit Azula, whose shield is not back up yet, so she takes the damage and seems largely okay.
Oh my god.
I mean, angry, but largely okay. All right, the remaining Chancellor of the Dross is going to swoop down at Stitch, looking to avenge its fallen brother. And drain some more soul energy out of you, Stitch. You take another 30 damage, which ignores your body armor.
Hey, thief!
And then that brings us to the Flesh Eater Imps. They are going to descend upon the dead Vault Scourges and begin eating them.
You.
The Imps are now pumped up.
Oh shit, that's right.
It is Dante's turn.
Is there anything on Godzilla, some detritus, stuff like that?
Wait,
Oh,
there's a really large stone that no one's using for anything in particular. It's completely, disposable.
Please turn into He-Man and save us.
I guess I could turn into He-Man, but can I still have white hair? Can I still be me?
Yeah, you would change into a Dante dressed like a barbarian. What if you have a little red loincloth?
I'm okay with this. Suddenly, Dante produces a sword no one has ever seen before, raises it above his head, and yells.
What does he yell?
Dante?
No!
There is a phrase, Liz.
By the power.
By the power of Dante!
Almost. Do you remember where our home base is? Do you remember what that's called?
By the power of Dante's castle.
Oh Jesus.
All right, so nothing is happening, Dante.
Oh my god, by the power of Grayskull!
A lightning bolt strikes the Sword of Power. Dante's outfit is changed so that he's now dressed like a barbarian and is considerably more muscular.
So Azula's force field's down?
It is down.
Yeah, I'll just attack her. I'll stabby stab.
Mordin switches his Omni tool to camera mode and holds it up.
Oh my god! You won't believe this shit. I got her red.
Yeah, you swing the Sword of Power down into Azula, and it's a pretty strong hit.
Yeah, it's like it's a good sword or something.
Good job, Himante. All right, that brings us to Luca.
Mordin says to Luca, I could probably do this faster with another set of hands. And Luca's gonna nod and run over and try to help him out.
Yeah, she can make a reason check with a bonus for technology.
Karma, just in case. That is a yellow.
The 2 DDCs have been connected. All that is left now is to safely connect them to the reactor. That brings us to Samus.
So with the grapple beam, can she pull people and then throw them at other people?
She may.
Could she, grab an exterminator and throw it at a Chancellor of the Dross?
She may.
All right, she's gonna do that. That's a yellow.
Yeah, so her grapple beam comes out, snags an exterminator out of the air, and then she hurls it into the Chancellor of the Dross, damaging both of them. All right, that brings us to the exterminators. The exterminators are now going to look at Samus and are going to raise up their shoulder-mounted Gatling guns and let loose a barrage of energy bursts at her. She is hit 3 times for a total of 120 damage.
Damn.
Considering that she started at half, she is knocked out.
Okay, Samus is out.
So how many of our allies are left? Is it just Luca?
Morgana and Luca
and Morgana
are left, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that brings us to the Dementia Bats. Yeah, the Dementia Bats are going to go for Morgana. So they all just, dive bomb him in a giant cloud. All right, they only managed to get some glancing blows on Morgana, however. Morgana takes a total of 12 damage. At this point, a figure comes swooping in from the night sky.
No.
His proportions suggest a human, but one that's, massively tall and muscular. He's wearing only a loincloth, a helmet, and some wrappings around his neck, arms, and feet.
No.
Which
Oh,
exposes his
no.
unnaturally gray flesh, monstrous face, and the symbol of a 2-headed snake on his chest. He lets loose a bellowing laugh, and he says, "So, these are insects who would attempt to break the grip of the father of machines. I think you shall find yourselves far more easily broken." And at this point, glowing lines of deep purple radiate out of him, and he is momentarily consumed and then draws the light into himself. He has been transformed and is now covered in a form-fitting black carapace with a pair of gigantic black snakes sprouting from his head, looking around eagerly as venom drips in thick ropes from their fangs. His body from the waist down has completely transformed, becoming something like a 4-legged crab or spider with thick armor plating.
Balls!
Mumra the Eternal has joined the fight. Oh, I'm sorry, hang on. That's not all who joins the fight.
Someone on our team, damn it!
3 more exterminators swoop in, bringing the total to 7. There is 1 more Chancellor of the Dross. There are 4 more Flesh Eater Imps.
How many Flesh Eater Imps total are there now?
6.
It doesn't matter.
There are 3 more Vault Scourges and 6 more Dementia Bats, bringing the total of Dementia Bats up to 13. All right, Luna, you are up.
What do you guys want me to do?
We still have to
Do you
save
want me to-
Toothless, right?
Yeah, try getting Toothless again,
okay.
dude.
Okay, alright, I'll try
Because,
that again.
hopefully we're just all getting out of here on Mordin's turn.
Alright, I'll spend Karma. A yellow.
You wave your wand, and Toothless's unconscious body leaps up off the ground and is carried through the air, landing gently next to you. And that brings us to Mordin.
Mordin flips on the fuel generator, and then he grabs the cables and sticks them into the battery pack and hopes everything goes well.
All right, reason check with a bonus for technology.
All right, I got 20 karma left. I'm gonna use it. I get a red.
You've hooked up the 2 DDCs and now plugged them into the Phyrexian reactor. Both devices light up and pop open with their electric fields beginning to form and combine together. And just then, both devices suddenly go dark. Their electric fields wink out, and the cable connecting them to the reactor goes dark. Mordin, you look over through the portal, and you can see standing by the reactor is Lex Luthor, holding the other end of the cable in his hand, having just unplugged it.
Shit.
And he says, "I'm terribly sorry. Were you using that?" It is Morgana's turn.
Morgana's gonna once again aim at the biggest cluster of the little enemies.
Okay, so that would be the Dementia Bats.
That's only a green, unfortunately.
All right, so he manages to take out one of the bats with a whirlwind, which brings us to Stitch.
Let's have Lace do her thing first. She's gonna do the same. She's also gonna aim at the bats with Marlene. That's yellow.
Lace takes out the entire cloud of Dementia Bats.
All right, now Stitch. Are you okay with the fact that Stitch has not hit the ground yet?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. The Chancellor that recently attacked him, did the Chancellor grab Stitch to do that, or was it just flying alongside him and sucked out?
No, he didn't grab Stitch. He's just flying very close to Stitch.
All right, Stitch is gonna grab that dude's face and try to get on him. Oh yeah, I want to get on him and then pull out one of my ladles. Oh, damn it! So no go.
All right, you're wrestling around with this Chancellor, but not getting any headway.
I'm fucking just trying to grab onto his face enough that I can control him, and he's wiggling, and I'm pulling the cape over his face, and there's some slapstick bullshit happening mid-air. Still have not landed. Godzilla is so tall.
The 3 remaining Vault Scourges are going to attack Luca. So they kind of dive bomb her, momentarily latch on, and plunge their mandibles into her. She takes a total of 20 damage from them.
That is going to take her out.
Oh, jeez.
Which brings us now to Azula. Azula brings up both hands, lightning bolts strike each, and she points both of them at Godzilla.
Don't you dare.
Oh.
Kit, me, I will enter the fictional world and destroy Azula.
Godzilla gets hit with both lightning bolts and drops.
Oh, shit.
I imagine Nico probably is like floating in the air right now as everyone is dropping through the air as Godzilla collapses. And that brings us to Nico's turn.
Fuck it. Dan, I hold my staff in the air and I say, back to Grayskull. I'm trying to get everybody in the league just fucking, like, open a portal, teleport, whatever, just go back.
Yeah, okay. In the past, I've kept it very limited as to, like, how and when you can travel through dimensions. I do think this is interesting and dramatically appropriate, so I will let you make the attempt. I will say, regardless of what you roll, there may be consequences of some sort.
I'm spending karma. Alright, well, using the last of my karma, I can get that to red.
Woo!
So I will.
So, Nico, there was a time back on Westeros when you attempted to cast a spell that would take you to Daenerys Targaryen. Now,
I remember.
As
I
it
was
turned
worried about
out,
this.
Daenerys Targaryen was not on the plane at the time, which you did not know.
Right.
And so when you tried to cast that spell, it basically felt like you ran into a wall, or like you were trying to move a mountain. This time, you cast the spell, and you feel that wall again, like you feel that mountain. But this time, you plant your feet, and you start pushing. And gradually, you feel the wall fall away before you. There is a glowing spot that begins directly beneath Godzilla that extends outward in this bubble. It expands until it covers Godzilla, it covers Morgana and Michonne, it covers all the members of Beatrix's cell, and one by one, it begins to cover all the members of the League. Mordin, Dante, Stitch, Lace, Luna, and it expands outward and upward, spreading up toward you. As it does so, you feel your hand begin to ache and vibrate. You feel the staff of one glow warm and then hot and then excruciating.
Oh, jeez.
The bubble is rising up to meet you, and just before it does, the staff of one breaks into splinters. And then the bubble disappears.
What?
How?
And you drop out of the sky.
Oh, fuck.
The rest of you appear back in Eternia, in the shadow of Castle Grayskull. And looking around, you can see that Nico is not there. Extraordinary League is produced by Dan Mulkerin, with logo design by Claire Mulkerin.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Motherload, and to TabletopAudio.com for our background music and ambient sound effects.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Lace finishes off the Flesh Eater reps.
Oh yeah, I am determined to
Nice.
make her the greatest guitarist of all time in
She's
all
well on her
universes. She's gonna like Joe Satriani would like bow before her.
So wait, is your like metric for good guitarist how many people you have killed through your guitar playing?
Is that
Well, in
not
that
it?
case, you're definitely better than Joe Satriani.